Well, good morning, and thanks everyone else for setting the stage this morning. I'm honored to have the pleasure to look at all of you. I mean, do you have any idea how beautiful you all look from here? You should come and stand up front someday and just look at the beauty of this crowd. I was thinking of this a moment ago. Being good enough when you dream of being great. How many of you have ever had the dream of being great? Come on, show of hands. It's Saturday. And those of you who put your hands up, how many of you get to live that greatness every single day because you make a commitment every single day? Thank you. Thank you for being that honest. Because I'll tell you what, if we reflect on Albert Schopenhauer's quote years ago, he said, every great truth goes through three phases. First, it's ridiculed, then it's violently opposed, lastly recognized as self-evident. So if you think of that, ridiculed, violently opposed, self-evident. Where are we in chiropractic right now? Some of you say violently opposed. Some of you, and I'm not judging, but some of you seem to have your heads in the sand. It is time to take your head out of the sand or wherever it's been and get it to great. Because we are under attack. In my office, chiropractic was self-evident. My practice members got it. I taught them, right? So you could say we're being ridiculed, we're violently opposed, it's self-evident. Depends who you're talking to. But if your head is not in the sand and you've been paying attention to what's going on around the world, we are under attack. Principled chiropractic is under attack. It's under attack in Australia. It's under attack in Canada. It's under attack in the United States. It's under attack in France. Wednesday morning, I had a meetings planned all day, and Mary Ellen's at the back, so she knows. I said this morning was a SHIT show in my office because I got there to an email from the registrar of the College of Chiropractors of Ontario, needing help to actually provide information to the Globe and Mail. And if you don't read Canada's papers, I mean, I live in Marietta, Georgia now. I don't read the Canadian papers much. But because I did sit on that board for 11 years, I get information. Peter Hamlinger sat on the board. Peter was my vice president when I was president. But I spent the next hour and a half or two helping them find the answers to the questions that these crazy reporters were attempting to report on, having never really understood who we are and what we do. Then while I was almost finished creating this report, it was like 5 to 12, my cell phone rings, it's Dr. Jerry Klum. When Jerry Klum calls, you answer. It doesn't matter what you're doing, when Jerry calls, you answer. So I answered, he said, I'm working on this reply to a situation that's happening in France, and I can't read the law. I need you to interpret the document for me. I was like, I got 5 minutes, I got a 10 o'clock deadline, I'll call you back. And so I spent the next part of my morning working on this other document and sat there with my cell phone, turned it on to French, and I literally translated the entire French chiropractic law for Jerry so he could fight. You see, when you're in your practice, I mean, you're loving your people. You don't have to be in the fight, or so you think. We need everybody's help. And there's some of us in the background fighting for chiropractic every single day. And the talk that I'm supposed to give today had to do with cultural authority or not. Do we have cultural authority as chiropractors or not? Why not? Why don't we have cultural authority, Dr. Dean? Can't say. Why don't we have cultural authority? Confusion? Confusion in what? The eyes of the public. Why? Because we've done a suck job at communicating our message. Right? I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm pointing the finger at myself. We've all done a lousy job at communicating the message. And what I discovered, obviously in practice, when we own the philosophy of chiropractic and we breathe it and we vibrate it and we feel it, and every time we put our hands on a practice member, every time we touch a spine with intention, and we connect with them, and we touch them with reverence as it relates to the nervous system and the possibility, it's a totally different world. Right? We're living in this beautiful bubble of serving just Maggie when I'm with Maggie, or just this gentleman when I'm with him. When we live there, we forget what's going on the outside. And I'll tell you what, I've always been called like the peaceful warrior. Yeah, I'm Canadian. We don't argue about anything. We just like try to get along with everybody. But I'll tell you what, the boxing gloves are somewhat out, but I believe that we have an option. We have an option to fight, but if we want to become the cultural authority, I believe that we need to really start focusing and understanding science. Not just as a profession, because we're doing pretty good in that world. But if you're like me, when I was in practice, I didn't read science on a weekly basis. I didn't understand the research that was going on. I couldn't really communicate the research to people who might ask me about the research. Why? Because I'm a principled chiropractor. I'm all about philosophy. I'm all about having an open heart. I'm all about service. That's all that mattered when I was in my office. And I'm recognizing that we need to go to the next step now. So my job today is to try to share some of that with you. Identity. You know, who are we as a profession? Well, it depends who you ask. It depends who you ask. I know who we are as a profession when I stand with you, because I'm with you. That's who I am as a chiropractor. I've been that way for 40 years, well, longer, since I discovered chiropractic at the age of 12. And obviously you know that's more than 40 years, because I'm a lot more than 52. But who are we? We need to get really, really clear together to be able to really share that message. And the value, think about it. What value do we offer society? Could you ever put a price on that? I mean, I'm alive today because of chiropractic. Right? Some of you know the story. I was diagnosed with a terminal condition in 2003. I was told I had 2 years to live. Look it up. It's called primary pulmonary hypertension. I was told I needed a double lung and heart transplant. I made a conscious decision to transition because I wasn't going to go through that trauma and the negativity around it, because if I had the transplant, they only gave me 5 years anyway. So I was 2 years doing nothing. 5 years if I do all this crazy stuff. I am doing it. So I retired on the 14th of April in 2004. It'll be 15 years next week. And I'll tell you, 31 days later, on the 15th of May, I woke up, and the first thought that came to my head was, you're a beep, beep idiot. I won't tell you what that word was. It was not a nice word. You're a beep, beep idiot. You've been preaching this chiropractic paradigm of health and healing for 25 years. There's got to be something seriously wrong with your spine and nervous system. Well, and my second thought was like, well, how could there be? I get checked by a chiropractor every week or two. But you know what woke me up? Was the third thought. The third thought was, never by the same chiropractor. I realized in that moment, on the 15th of May in 2004, that I had not been a practice member in any practice since I left my hometown for undergrad. I got checked by whatever chiropractor I happened to be hanging out with that day. I share that with you because when all the noise died down in my head, I reached over, because I was still in bed. I called my former CA and made an appointment, and I went in as a new patient because I wanted to become a practice member. Two different things, right? In my language, you're a patient until you choose lifetime care. And I thought I'd chosen lifetime care at the age of 12. And I was receiving substandard care. I hadn't had an x-ray of my spine in probably 20 years. I hadn't had a nerve scan at least that long. I hadn't had an evaluation. Nobody in my town had a chart on me. I never made appointments. Sound familiar? Sound familiar to some of the docs in this room? Some of you are not practice members in any practice. I'm not chastising you. I'm attempting to humble myself and let you know I thought I was a great chiropractor. And people in my office got better care than I was receiving. I want you to please do that for yourself. If you're not a practice member in a practice, make an appointment. Go in. Demand the same level of care that you offer your practice members. You deserve the same high quality care as your practice members, right, Doc? Absolutely. Are you getting it? You are. Good for you, because not everybody in this room can answer that. Right? Not everybody in the room can answer that. I can guarantee you that, because I've asked people around. But I know what it's worth now. I was supposed to be dead in 2005. It's 2019. I've seen my 3 kids graduate from college, 3 kids get married. I've seen 5 grandchildren be born. Life is freaking awesome, right? But not everybody understands that. And our job is to get that message out to the people. We've got to be able to understand what we offer society. We've got to be able to understand individually its worth. Because most of us, for me, dude, I took chiropractic for granted. It was awesome. And every time I get adjusted, I would say, man, I can't believe that people don't do this for themselves. But then I realized I took it for granted. The biggest gift to humanity is this thing we call chiropractic. The art, the science, the philosophy of chiropractic, in my opinion, is the biggest gift we've been given. And we hear it all the time, right? The power that made the body heals the body. As Peter Amlinger said this morning, he was like, that quote's not true. I was like, what? He said, the power that makes the body heals the body, right? Because it's making it every single day. We haven't done a good job teaching that to people. So I think it was Dr. Jen who talked about, yes, it was Dr. Jen who talked about the Socratic method. I don't know if you do this, but I was trained very early on by a mentor that no matter what reservation I have, wherever it is, my reservation is always under the name of Dr. Lamarche. Always. Whether it's a cab, a restaurant, a hotel, no matter what. Why do you think I do that? Why do you think I do that? Because they give you better service? Because they're going to ask me a question. What's the question usually going to be? So what kind of doctor are you? So instead of throwing chiropractic up on people, I allow them to open the conversation. The minute they say, what kind of doctor are you? It is free-flowing. And then you've got to find out what other questions to ask. So my favorite question to ask, when they say that, I say, well, can I ask you a question? After I tell them I'm a chiropractor, I say, can I ask you a question? And they say, sure. And I want to take you down that little road of an experience that I had when I was the president of the Licensing Board in Ontario. I was in Toronto probably every 2 weeks or less, and I lived 450 miles north. So I'd practice, get on a plane, go to a meeting, get on a plane, get back to practice, etc. So I always had a car waiting for me at the airport in Toronto. I get into the back of a cab one day, and the guy says exactly what everybody else always says. So, Dr. Lamarche, what kind of doctor are you? I said, I'm a chiropractor. He goes, I've heard of you guys before, but I don't really know what you do. And I'm sitting in the back seat. He's looking in the rearview mirror as he pulls off, taking me downtown. And I said to him, well, can I ask you a few questions? He said, sure. I said, if you think back to high school science class. By the way, he was a gentleman of Indian descent, had been in Canada about 5 years. It doesn't matter where they're from, by the way. If they've had high school, they've had biology of some sort. It doesn't matter what country. I've asked it in 25, 30 different countries. I said, if you think back to high school biology class, what do you remember your teacher telling you is the most important system in the human body? And if we were playing Family Feud in New Jersey today, what do you think would be the number one answer? Nervous system, that's what you think. The public. What would the public think? The heart. It's not even a system. It's an organ. It's the number one answer. And you know what? When they tell me the heart, do I tell them they're wrong? No. Think about how I asked the question. If you think back to high school biology class, what do you remember your teacher telling you? And if they remember the heart, I say, you're right. It's probably what your teacher taught you. And this is the conversation I'm having with this gentleman. I said, can I ask you a couple more questions? He said, sure. I said, I'm going to assume you went to sleep last night, and you fell asleep, and you woke up this morning, and your heart was still beating. What told your heart to do that? He was like, geez, I don't know. I said, so I look inside, I said, yeah, you look like you're in pretty good shape. I bet you exercise once in a while. I said, yeah, I exercise a few times a week. I said, did you ever notice when you exercise, your heart beats faster? You start to breathe a little bit more quickly, and then you start to sweat? He said, yes. I said, that's your body adapting to the exercise? He said, yes. I said, what tells your body to do that? He was like, I don't know. And then I said, what's in here? He says, my brain. I said, and what does your brain control? If we were playing Family Feud, what do you think the number one answer there? Everything. So every person that's walking the beach here, if you ask them these questions, would know that their brain controls everything. You know what they don't know? They don't know how the message gets from the brain cell to the tissue cell. They don't understand this. And in a minute or two, I taught him that. And he was like, oh my gosh, God put you in my cab today. Well, I believe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be because that's where I'm supposed to be, but I'm Socratic, so I said, well, why would you say that? And he went on to tell me that his wife was on the verge of committing suicide. And every day, because she had been very ill, and it started with neck pain, arm pain, the rest of the pain, etc., he said, and every day when I leave, my aging mother-in-law comes home to take care of her, and I'm just always so afraid that I'm going to get a phone call to find out that somehow she's avoided her mom and she's taken her life. Do you think I should take her to a chiropractor? Do you think my answer was yes? Absolutely not. I said, what do you think? He said, I think I should take her to a chiropractor. He said, I agree. You should take her to a chiropractor. But I got his agreement. It was that easy. I gave him 3 names once I get into the office. I got his email address, got up to the office of the CCO, sent him 3 names of chiropractors in Mississauga where he lived. I've never seen the guy since. But I'll tell you, the power of that short conversation, about 6 or 8 weeks later, I got a very short email. It was, thank you for saving my wife's life. Cultural authority. Identity. Understood the value, understood what it brings society, and was willing to make a difference. And was willing to do whatever it takes, and I do it every single day, no matter where I'm at, because I believe that that's the way we can win the marketplace. We've got to be able to talk about it. And so we could put our gloves on, right? We could have this huge fight. That hasn't helped anybody. We're lovers. You can put a pair of boxing gloves on me, and you and I could get into the ring. But I could never want to hurt you, Bob. I mean, I might want to try to win the fight, but I don't want to fight at that level. And I think that's probably most of you, right? We've got this fighting spirit, but we don't want to beat anybody up. So I believe that science has actually become the currency of cultural authority. And there's plenty of science. I mean, I know this is a 20-minute talk. I thought it was a 40-minute talk, so I only have 20 minutes, which means I'm another 2 minutes or so. But anybody who wants this PowerPoint, there is tons of science on this PowerPoint that I'm happy to give you. I've got it on a thumb drive, so it's easy to pass it on. But the world thinks of health based on symptoms. And I love this quote because it says, a symptom is a good barometer but a poor compass. It may indicate the presence of stormy weather, but cannot reliably guide you to the center of the storm. How we get to the center of the storm is we do this. We seek the truth. So I would hope that all of you become truth seekers, and we share the truth. How many of you do a regular, weekly, or bi-weekly class in your office and have done it for years? How many of you? And the rest of you don't, okay? Some of you don't because there's all sorts of reasons. You're afraid, you're shy, you're an introvert. Well, those of you who know me really, really well know that I'm a natural introvert. I'm a natural introvert. It took a lot of energy for me to be willing to become an extrovert. And the extroversion for me came because a mentor by the name of Richard Yenny, who practiced in Kansas City, Missouri for some 60 years, has since passed on, in a conversation in a suite when I was a junior in chiropractic college in 1977, and I shared what got me to chiropractic. He says, Gilles, you need to learn to tell this to everybody. And I was like, well, you don't understand. Like, I'm a little French-Canadian. I still spoke with a very heavy French accent back then. Now I work better on my English, and I get better over time. That was supposed to be funny. But Richard looked at me. He stuck his finger in my chest repeatedly and said, what gives you the right to know truth and not share it? And I was too foolish to give him an answer, and he continued and asked the question. On the 4th, 5th, or 6th question, I said, nothing. Nothing gives me the right to know truth and not share it. He said, that's right, young man. Go out and learn to tell the truth. And my message for you today is a question. What a concept. What gives you the right? What gives you the right to know truth and not share it? I don't come to you from a space of judgment with that question. I come to you with from the space of love with that question. Honestly. Let's make it about humanity tell the truth together, hang out together, continue to build the tribe, and we will win this battle. We will win this battle. Thank you.
Gilles Lamarche.